Hey, Queens. Unfortunately, 2/3 of our hosting team got really sick this past week, so we were unable to record. So in lieu of a new episode, we will be releasing one of our Patreon bonus contents called Baldness is Dadness. Honestly, one of my favorite Patreon bonus episodes. So if you'd like to hear more bonus content, go to patreon.com/the female dating strategy. We also have merch in the Patreon. We also have a Discord where you can chat with us directly and submit show topic ideas. We're also hosting a twice monthly war room discussion for our Queen tier members, which is like a live strategy session with the podcast hosts as well as our Patreon subscribers at the Queen level. And you could submit a dating question for us to answer on the podcast, or you can submit a story about a horrible scroty man in your life and we'll roast them on the podcast. So check us out, patreon.com/the female dating strategy. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at FemDenStrat and check out our website, thefemaledatingsstrategy.com, if you want to discuss this episode and participate in our forum. And check out our Instagram at _the female dating strategy. So hope you enjoy this episode, Baldness is Dadness. In the meantime, please enjoy this bonus episode called Baldness is Dadness.
Welcome to our bonus content this week, ladies. This week, we're reading an article from Maxim. The title of the article is Bald Guys Are Seen as Smart, Dominant, and Just Plain Sexy, study says.
So this is already pinging my propaganda radar, right? First of all, it's in Maxim, and Maxim is known for being like a trash lad mag. So
yeah.
They're just masturbating their male readership.
They're just telling men what they want to hear, you know.
The thing about this is, like, look at the difference between men's magazines and women's magazines. Women's magazines are all about making you feel insecure. Men's magazines are about making these guys feel irrationally confident.
So true. So true.
That's the thing. Like, women's magazines are all about, like, oh, you know, you need to lower your standards. Or like, women's magazines, the female magazine counterpart of this would be the same thing, essentially, like pro-male propaganda. Like, don't judge a man just because he's bald. He could have other qualities that are great. You need to give him a chance.
Yeah, that's exactly what would be in a women's magazine.
I think this phenomena also is what contributes to the fact that women tend to underestimate their attractiveness whilst men overestimate theirs, which is why, especially when men venture onto online dating, they get sort of a baptism of fire when they get no matches, because they've been told all their lives that, you know, you're just, you know, you're fine as you are, like, just go out there and find a woman. Whereas with women, it's the opposite. We're told that we're never good enough.
Yeah.
Men have been told their whole lives that their looks don't really matter.
Yes.
You know, women are told, like, that our looks are the most important thing.
Yeah.
And you know, and in fact, like, the majority of a woman's value is based on her looks. Whereas with a man, you know, they're told, oh, you know, I could have other qualities and be ugly and it'll be fine kind of thing, right? And it's like, no, with women like hot guys too, okay, right? So they get this really uncomfortable realization or very traumatizing truth, which is like, yeah, women are visual too.
And I'll never forget when I recently read an article on one of the dating subreddits, and it was from a guy saying, I'm overweight, do I have a chance of finding a partner? And everyone was like, yeah, chicks dig overweight guys, right? And then pick me saying, I love overweight men. And I remember thinking, but if that was a woman...
I mean, some women do.
That's true. But if it was a woman who was saying, I'm overweight, will I find a partner? All the comments would tell her to lose weight.
Yeah, they would tell her, like, well, it's going to be hard for you.
It's going to be hard, or, you know, men won't take you seriously, or, you know, like, men don't want an unhealthy woman.
Men don't like obese women, straight up. Yeah.
Exactly. They'd all just tell her to lose weight.
Do you guys remember the old boomer humor? Men don't make passes at girls with fat asses, even though that's totally not true now. Because, like, the ass is now in. But I remember seeing those other, like, gag gift cards used to say stuff like that.
So, you know what, you want to know the funny thing? So I'm like naturally more like kind of pear-shaped. Like, I'm pretty bottom heavy, both in terms of like my like thighs and my butt. And growing up in, you know, going through puberty and stuff, this was like in the early 2000s where like low-rise jeans were all the rage. And, you know, the beauty standard was to be super, super skinny. And so I just remember being so hard on myself and just hating my body and starving myself throughout most of my teen years. Straight up. And then, like, you know, starting in university, that's when, you know, Kim Kardashian starts to become more popular, and, like, you know, suddenly huge butts are in right now. And so I guess I'm just lucky that my body type is popular while I'm in my 20s, but still I'm like, you know, body shapes go in and out of fashion. And so I'm like, oh, fucking like 5 years.
Only women's body shapes go in and out of fashion.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, I didn't even know that men's, like, apart from like Rose, like I didn't even like realize that actually men had different body shapes until Rose,
they do.
Little diagram.
I don't know if I'm just like, I know.
But I was never told that growing up. I was like never just like, you know, I never saw that diagram anywhere. But, you know, women, we all know that there's hourglass, there's apple, there's pear, there's this, there's that. But men, they also have body shapes.
Yeah, no one told me either, but I have a very analytical type mind. So I was like, why do I find certain men's bodies attractive and not others? And so I really just started looking at it like, why is this guy's body hot? And then the other guy to me looks kind of like stocky or like stumpy or something. And then I realized like, oh, there is such a thing as like chest or like shoulder to hip ratio.
Shoulder to hip ratio.
Yeah. Like there's actually that for men too, as much as like the waist to hip ratio is harped on for women. Like men actually have an equivalent of that. It's just not always highlighted because they don't get nearly as much body scrutiny. But I'm like, I know what I like when I see it. And I just had to I had to fill in the blanks about like, why do I like this? Like,
that's another thing. Like waist to hip ratio is just like, I hear about it all the time. Waist to hip ratio, waist to hip ratio, waist to hip ratio. That's what men find attractive. Waist to hip ratio. And like nobody ever fucking talks about the shoulder to hip ratio, which most women will say that they like a guy with really wide shoulders and a comparatively like narrow waist.
And an itty bitty waist and a round thing in your face. Yeah. If you look at the website for Maxim, they don't have like a health and wellness section or like nutrition section where they try to sell you a bunch of weight loss products like they do in women's magazines. The categories are entertainment, style, rides, luxury, gear, food and drink, travel, sports, women, video, and then Maxim cover girls. So like it's all about style, making men feel good about themselves, and it's all about entertainment. Yeah.
Women,
right. And then like objectifying women, right? And then you have on like the front page current events. It's not just like all these feel good fluff things about like, I finally had the confidence to go outside in a bikini. You know, like it's like, and I'm not saying
I finally asked a guy out on a date.
Yeah. Not that weird, like constantly insecure energy that I hate from like women's magazines. Like it's totally different. So if FDS were to expand, I want to make something that's way more empowered.
I consider this to be a form of informational warfare where the media that men consume is uplifting to them. It entertains them. It makes them feel good about themselves. It gives them irrational confidence, like frankly, unearned confidence.
Say it again.
Whereas women's media is the opposite. It actually is, you know, it's similar to, you know, when one country is like spreading like disinformation to demoralize the other population, right? Like women are subjected to this sort of informational warfare all the time. And we need to come up with a counter strategy. We need to come up with our own informational warfare to throw back at them.
I haven't seen the male equivalent of a thigh gap, you know, controversy. Yeah. Like they're like Thigh Gaps owned all of our women's magazines for like a whole summer, didn't it? Or like maybe even a year. Remember when Thigh Gaps were everywhere?
Oh, the bikini bridge? That was the other one that was fucked up where like
the bikini bridge, the hip dips, like literally every year they come up with some new thing we have to care about. It was hip, get rid of your hip dips, have a thigh gap. Didn't they just kept like creating these new physical insecurities in women? And I've never seen like not one thing like that come out of men's magazines.
Yeah, in fact, it's the opposite. Like this one, bald guys are seen as smart, dominant, and just plain sexy, says a study. Because, like that's the one thing that maybe women, you know, maybe dick size and like baldness, those are the two things that men tend to be insecure about. And yet, like the men's magazines, it's all about like, you don't need to have a big dick. Like women's vaginas are only like 4 inches long. Like, you know, you can please a woman kind of thing.
Lies! I'll die on the hill that dick size is important. I don't care.
But anyways, should we get back to the article?
Let's actually do this article.
So let's actually get back to the topic at hand. Sorry for the long tirade. But yeah, so again, bald guys are seen as smart, dominant, and just plain sexy, study says. Subtitle, Baldies Rejoice. And there's a picture here of Jason Statham with his gorgeous supermodel girlfriend, Rosie Huntington Whiteley. And I just want to say, first of all, gross age gap. Secondly, Jason Statham is attractive, but most bald men do not.
He's an attractive man.
He's an attractive man, but first of all, he would probably be more attractive with hair. And secondly, most men don't look like Jason Statham. So that's just cope, just straight out the gates.
I'm going to go on a limb here and say I actually don't mind a man who's bald. I would prefer that than when they're hanging on to their straggly hair for dear life when they've got bald patches. I actually don't have a problem with bald men. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But again, like every woman has a different preference, right? And so some women, it's not that important to them. Just like Savannah, you like men who are tall, but for me, tallness is not an important thing. Like I'll date a guy who's the same height as me, and that's not a standard that I have, right?
Hair is actually my deal breaker.
Yeah, hair is a deal breaker for me and for Ro. Okay, I like a guy with a full head of hair. Once he starts going bald, I'm like, no, you kind of look like my dad. I just can't do it.
That's exactly what it is. I have too many male relatives that went bald that I look at them and I'm like, I don't know. There's nothing sexual to me about a bald man. I don't know what it is.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
fair.
because Savannah, didn't you say your dad has a full head of hair, and so you don't associate baldness with?
No, he did. This is the thing. Like, he used to have, like, a massive, massive afro, like Jackson 5. Like, if he straightened his hair, it would be, like, mid-back level. He had, like, a full head of hair. Then he just gradually went, like, bald over the years. I've never really associated, I guess.
Maybe you just don't associate baldness with dadness.
Yeah, maybe that. And also because my dad's a good person, so I don't associate it with scrotery as well.
That's the other thing. My dad's a piece of shit.
See it as...
So.
I don't associate. Yeah, my dad's he's just aged. Yeah, I just seen it as, So that's probably why.
Well, that's an interesting psychoanalysis of the three hosts here. So that's one thing. Secondly, I want to talk about this image and how the sort of low-key propaganda that men get of, like, I'm sure the bald men looking at that, bald men are looking at this picture of Jason Statham and Rosie and thinking, oh, I could get with a girl like that. Right? Right? That's the sort of psyop that, like, men see that and they identify with Jason Statham, and it's sort of normalizing this idea that, like, every guy deserves a hot girl, right? Or could get a hot girl.
It's also pushing the idea that women who maybe aren't into bald men are somehow abnormal. That's what I don't like about the tone of this article. Like, it's perfectly fine to have physical preferences. But this article sort of pushing it as, it's, most women like bald men, and we know that's inaccurate to just an outright lie somewhere, because there are women who prefer their man to have hair, and that's okay.
So into the article, with increasing age comes many wonderful things, including hard-learned wisdom, better sex, and cold hard cash. But
false.
Okay,
false.
First of all, I want to say... Again, I hate this lie that, like, men, the whole men age like fine wine thing, right?
Yeah.
Again, more male propaganda. Men read that and they think, oh, I'm going to get better with age. And it's like, yeah, you might have more money, but generally men are more attractive when they're younger. That's just a fact.
And they don't. They still live at home. We've spoken about this.
Yeah.
Home.
Yeah, a lot of older guys don't necessarily... It's not like age and money is like a linear relationship, right? Like, a lot of older guys...
Boomerang sons. All these boomerang sons. Boomerang divorcees.
Yeah. But, like, women's magazines compare that, for example. Do women's magazines go like, oh, yeah, your sexual marketplace value increases with age, right? No, women's magazines are all about, like, bagging a man as soon as you possibly can, or, like, how to look younger, or, anti-aging, trying to sell you anti-aging creams and shit like that, right? It's all about trying to make you feel insecure to sell you shit. With men's magazines, it's the opposite. It's like, man, like, don't worry, you're going to get better with age. Anyways.
Somehow, magically. Yeah.
So we're one line in and I already hate it. Okay.
I know.
But since life is a total bitch, aging also flings some serious horseshit our way too, namely in the form of achy knees, the dad bod, and baldness. Oh, that darn male pattern baldness. I want to say, like, first of all, like, this is such a stupid article. A total bitch. And it just throws some serious horseshit our way. Like, wow, great writing. Seriously, 10 out of 10. Pulitzer Prize winning, prose there. Seriously. Statistics show, and by the way, we're going to get into these statistics later, but statistics show that by the age 35, around 66% of men lose a considerable amount of hair. And by 55, 85% have significant hair loss. And by significant hair loss, I mean bald. Just like Mr. Clean. Okay.
Well, I mean...
Yeah.
Sounds like they're hitting the wall.
Yeah.
That thing they claim doesn't exist for men.
Sounds like they're hitting the wall.
I mean, what's wild about it is like, what's wild about the whole wall thing is how they use women's waning fertility as evidence of us hitting the wall. But like for men, they basically hit the wall like a Mack truck because of the fact that they lose all their hair. Like they're like, it's, you can't really physically tell the difference between women in their 20s and 30s if they're like relatively healthy, but you can massively tell the difference between a bald man and a not bald man, right? Women actually age gracefully. Men do not. They one day they're fine, the next day their scalps are shining like a cue ball.
I posted this on Twitter how, you know, men often say, you know, men talk about women's declining fertility as like proof of our declining sexual marketplace value. And here's the thing, it's irrelevant if men can technically reproduce at 50 and women can't, because young women don't want to fuck old guys. Right? Like even if it's true that women are maximally fertile in their 20s, we don't want to fuck a 50-year-old man, right? And so, you know, and they keep trying to push this and push this and push this.
He's not maximally fertile.
Yeah, he's not maximally fertile. Not only is he, I mean, yeah, technically he can produce sperm, but, you know, there's birth defects and stuff. But my point being that, like, women, young, fertile women don't want to fuck old guys. And so it's irrelevant if they can technically reproduce if, you know, they can't get a girl with by any means other than, like, financial coercion, right? Which is why they keep pushing this idea of, like, women's sexual marketplace value is when they're 23 when they're the hottest, and men's sexual marketplace value is highest when they're like 40 or 50 when they have the most money. No! Okay? We want to fuck guys our own fucking age, okay?
Yeah.
God, stop spreading this propaganda.
I just read this too, like technically Rosie Huntington Whiteley, they're not married. Is she like his baby mama on top of that?
Are they?
Extra ill. I don't think they are married.
I swore they were married.
Hold on, how old is she?
She's in her 30s, I think.
She's like 34 and he's 54.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, they've had 2 children and they haven't gotten married.
Oh shit.
He's hosing her.
Yeah. Let's see, she's 34 and Jason Statham is 54. So again, 20-year age gap. That's yeah. And he hasn't married her? God, she can do better. Yeah. Anyways, queen. She deserves better. I mean, actually, no, not queen. She deserves better. She could be a queen.
Unless she makes like way more money than him, which I doubt. And that's the thing with models is that they generally try to... This is why a lot of them date older is because they're trying to secure the bag.
Yeah.
Right? They're trying to get someone to support them if they haven't made that much money modeling. I think she was doing Victoria's Secret at one point and even did a few movies, but she's nowhere near as well paid as he is.
I think she's one of the more higher paid ones, but a lot of models...
But she doesn't touch his wealth, for sure. He's definitely the richer partner.
No, not even close.
Yeah, she has, like, I think $9 million net worth. Let's see Jason Statham net worth. Some people are saying, oh, he's grossed... Because his films have grossed over $1 billion. But yeah, so he's definitely the more wealthy partner, right?
He's the wealthier partner, yeah, 100%.
Should have married him and then clean him out. if it goes left. But anyways, back to the article. Sure, having a gorgeous head of hair is a blessing, but hey, no shame in being a baldy. There's no use fighting it if your hair is falling out.
I do agree with that. I agree with that, to be fair.
Yeah, don't be out here looking like a circus clown.
Yeah, stop looking like Gollum. Like, some guys end up looking like Gollum. You know, like the straggly hair.
Yeah, the straggly hair and like the weird horseshoe thing going on. Just shave it off. Take it down.
Yeah, I mean, don't go for the Gollum look.
A couple things. First of all, hair loss actually is reversible. That's a myth. So it's like, here's the thing, like, but yeah, it takes work to reverse the hair loss, you know? So there's Rogaine, which, you know, has had amazing results for a lot of men. And there's also, you know, some people will put like, and I have this as part of my beauty routine, is using rosemary oil as like a scalp treatment that just makes my hair a little bit like thicker, but it also can be used for men's hair loss. And there's also hair transplant surgery, right? Like, hair transplant surgery. And this might be unpopular, but I actually think that all men should be saving up for hair transplant surgery from the moment they get their first job, because like I refuse to accept this. I refuse to accept the fact that, oh, men just go bald and that's just something women have to deal with. When women, we spend so much time and so much money and so much effort. Like, if I started going bald, there's no amount of money that would stop me from trying to fix it, right? Like, I would do absolutely everything in my power. I'd try Rogaine, I'd try the, you know, essential oils. If that didn't work, I would drop $20,000 on hair transplant surgery. Dead ass. Okay. Like, we need to get men to give a shit about their appearance as much as women give a shit about their appearance, okay? I know most feminists, they try to do the whole like, oh, love yourself, accept yourself, don't, capitulate to patriarchal beauty standards. It's just like, unfortunately, those beauty standards exist, and my strategy is to make men give a shit. Is to, raise the bar. Instead of lowering the bar for women, I want to raise the bar for men, okay? And a good example of this would be like Machine Gun Kelly, right? Like, he started going bald, and he looked ugly. Like, he just looked like a scrote, right? And then he got hair transplant surgery, and now he's with Megan Fox, okay? The results speak for themselves, buddy.
Level up, bro.
Level up, bro. Yeah, so first of all, it's not true that hair loss is irreversible. There are things that you can do to reverse it. And so when I see a guy who's, especially if he's wealthy and he's bald, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you have the money to fix this problem, and you're choosing not to? Like, I see that as a fundamental character flaw.
How dare you?
I mean, my personal stance is if a guy wants to go bald, that's fine, but he should also accept that not every woman is into that. For example, Wayne Rooney has had hair transplants and he still looks like a bridge troll. Like, I think there's only so much hair transplants can actually do for a person's looks anyway. But then again, I'm not against dating a guy who's bald, so that's just a personal preference.
Yeah, for me, hair is important, and so it's a deal breaker. If a guy's bald, I don't care if he has any other qualities. He could be literally the most perfect person in the world. I'm sorry, I just like a full head of hair. I just kills my lady boner seeing a bald guy.
Just a question though, so if you were married to somebody, say for 10 years, and they went bald 10 years in, would you get a divorce?
I would tell him to buy Rogaine. Straight up, I would.
And he refused. And he didn't want to buy Rogaine, didn't want to get a hair transplant.
Honestly, yeah, I probably would divorce them, especially if I was still attractive.
Really?
Yeah, especially if I was still attractive and he was no longer attractive to me. Probably. I mean, if we had kids and stuff, probably not. I wouldn't want to like destroy my family, over like something like hair, right? But if we had no kids and we were just like together, and Again, like, I don't want to have sex with someone I don't find attractive, right? If I don't find him attractive,
fair.
What's the point of staying married to someone that I don't want to fuck? Like,
if we were both old, if we were both in our like 50s and 60s and he's going bald, then whatever. But like right now, the guys that are starting to go bald, I'm like, I don't think it's gonna happen. Like, or they're already bald. Yeah, I think I would just avoid. I feel like late pattern baldness is one thing if it's like 50s or 60s, but like early pattern baldness.
Yeah, a lot of guys in their 20s and 30s are starting to go bald, like way sooner than before. And I think it's like the fast food, poor diet, and lack of exercise that's causing them to age prematurely. Again, like that, we need to raise. I think that women having high standards is good for all of humanity, because when we set the standard, like, I'm not going to fuck you if you have these flaws, set the bar high and men will jump. Dead ass. Like, set the bar high, men will jump, because having sex is so important to them that they will do whatever it takes to have sex with you.
It would really depend. And like I said, if I was still attracted to him and there's a bunch of other things I was attracted to him, and probably be fine. But I'm not lying that I probably would avoid men now who are already balding.
Yeah.
But if he had...
Yeah, that's different though, to be fair, because that's something that they have at the moment. But I'm just talking about, like, he's got a full head of hair now, but in 15 years' time, he doesn't. Because you can't foresee that, really.
You can if you look at the male family members on the mother's side. That's another thing I actually pay attention to when I'm, like, meeting my boyfriend's family.
Is that actually true?
Yeah, hair loss comes from the mom's genes, actually. And so I'm actually lucky in that way, because on my mom's side, all of the men have like a full head of hair well into their, like, my grandfather, my mom's dad, had a full head of hair on his deathbed. Literally, like, he died with a full head of hair. Barely any receding, slight receding hairline, but like very minor, right? So I know that I'm just genetically gifted like that. My kids would not be going bald, probably, hopefully.
I could never do a guy that like settled into the Kevin Durant, because that's what I'm afraid of. If you ever seen Kevin Durant's bald pattern, like, he doesn't do anything with his hair, and he just lets like the middle is just bald, and he has like the friar tuck thing going on, but he doesn't like style his hair in any type of way to make it like make up for it, either take it down close so it's not as noticeable, or like cover it, or do anything. So like my fear is if I dated a guy who like wasn't trying at all, like I would end up with like the Kevin Durant style friar tuck thing, and then I would be like,
I'm trying to think. Kevin Durant hair. I don't know.
Just
what
just
he
type
looks like.
in Kevin Durant.
Oh God,
bald.
yeah, no. There's like a picture. Oh my God. Okay. There's one picture. If you look on Google Images, Kevin Durant hair, it's like a picture of like a bunch of ground beef being fried in a pan next to his hair. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, if you're going bald, dude, like just shave it off, right? Like take it down close.
I think if he had taken it down close, he looks very handsome, but otherwise, yeah.
Don't do the Gollum look. Like, that's just not attractive.
Don't be like Rollo Tomasi. You know Rollo Tomasi is that Manosphere scrote. He wears a baseball cap in like every single video of him, but he's got long hair, and it's like we just know that he's got a receding hairline, right? Like just like I feel like you'd have to be into self-humiliation to have long hair and be going bald, right? I think he just lacks self-respect. Like, have some self-respect and shave that shit off, okay? Like,
I want to roast him another episode because he's been making the rounds on social media lately, talking about how women age and are low value after 35. Like, and why does this man have a platform? But go ahead.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's, again, I tell him straight up to his face, like, it's irrelevant if you think that you're high value. Women don't want to fuck old men. Like,
if somebody is constantly wearing like a baseball cap and they've got supposedly long hair, it's because their hairline is vanishing.
Yeah.
If I ever see this man, the first thing I'm going to ask is like, take that cap off, bruh. Let's go ahead. Because he's really hiding a lot. You can tell he's hiding a lot of sins behind it. But yeah. Okay, sorry. Let's get back to this article. We're never going to make it through.
Back to the article.
We're never going to make it through.
We're never make it. It's going to be like an hour-long episode, and we're only like 3 sentences into this article, and we're at like 30 minutes.
But you guys deserve the extended chatter.
Yeah, okay. So, he says, yeah, there's no use fighting it if your hair is falling out. False. You should fight it. Plus, if you just shave off any remaining tufts of hair instead of combing it over like a dweeb and just go for the clean bald look, think of all the time and money you'll save, and not to mention how badass you'll look. Okay, that's another thing that pisses me off, is that with men, they just shave their head and they save all this time, money, and energy. Women spend so much time and money on our hair. I hate it.
Even women with short hair.
Even with the short hair, you still have to style it. Yeah, although I do agree, like, if you're going bald, just, like, shave it off. Like, have some self-respect. Anyways, and guess what? Going bald, or just shaving all your hair off, is actually one of the greatest things that can happen to you, because apparently bald dudes are perceived as more intelligent, dominant, and overall sexier than men who have a full head of hair. Or so says Dr. Frank Muscarella from Bayer University in Florida. Dr. Frank is bald, right? Like, he definitely is bald. Like,
Dr. Frank is a goddamn lie. That's all I have.
Yeah. Dr. Frank is a fucking snake oil salesperson selling lies. Okay, so hold on.
Yeah, I just Googled him, and yeah,
Frank.
He's definitely got like a light bulb thing going on. Like the receding hairline where it just like it goes from like ear to ear.
Dr. Frank Muscarella. Yeah, he's definitely got a receding hairline. So
I'm guessing it's one of the bald ones in the Google search.
I mean, he still sort of has hair, but yeah, he's definitely got a receding hairline. It's like you can definitely tell he's grown it out and is trying to like comb it kind of forward so that it covers his hairline. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but still, he's a lie.
Even if he's still got some hair, he's still a liar. So. Anyways, interested in why baldness is still a thing, even though it's seen as such a horribly negative thing, Muscarella set out on a noble quest to find out why the baldness trait hasn't been bred out of humans yet. Okay, that's an interesting question, actually. In his study, Muscarella and his team asked participants to rate a selection of men in 4 domains: physical attractiveness, aggressiveness, appeasement, and social maturity, which included factors like honesty, intelligence, and social status. Once he crunched the numbers, he found that generally people perceive bald dudes as more honest, intelligent, and dominant, which are obviously all good things. However, there's one bit of bad news. Baldness decreases perceived physical attractiveness just a touch, but no matter. See?
No, emphasize that.
Yeah.
No, don't downplay that.
Yeah, don't downplay that shit. Like,
look how they go out of their way to like fillet their male audience, right? Like, oh, just a touch.
And just how they downplay that there are some women, probably a significant number, who don't find that attractive.
Yeah.
This is why men feel so, I guess, misled when they go out into the real world and start getting rejected left, right, and center. Like, they say women can't take rejection, but these guys are essentially saying it's going to reduce your attractiveness, but then saying, oh, it doesn't matter, when it absolutely does. In real terms.
And it's because of mainstream narratives like this that I can almost understand why men become like incels or red pillars. Like the red pill to them,
they've been lied to.
Yeah, they when I read the red pill or incel subreddits, they're all talking about how they feel like they've been lied to by society and like, oh, women actually like men who are attractive. Women actually like men who are rich, that kind of thing, as if that's surprising to them. And it's like, yeah, like they say this in a bad way, in like sort of a backfooting way, as if women, if we want to prove that we're good people, we have to not be attracted to these things, or as if our attraction to these things are an inherent flaw and not just like the way things are. We need to have a counter narrative. People criticize FDS for, oh, you're exactly like all the women that those red pill guys complain about, kind of thing, and it's like, yeah, because they're unreasonable for thinking that the things that women want are unreasonable, right? Yeah. We're trying to normalize the things that women want, which is, yes, we want attractive men and we want guys who have money. That's just a fact. I don't think
we need them to try harder. That's the thing. They're always complaining about the curve and how women only want the top 20% of men. Well, that means that the middle needs to get dragged up.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not happy with this either, which means y'all got to try harder.
Yeah, the solution is for men to improve themselves, not for women to lower their standards. And that's what I mean about this being good for humanity, because women lowering their standards is just a race to the bottom for everybody. I just think that's overall bad for humanity. Like female sexual selection in nature is a powerful force for maintaining the health of a population. I find it funny that this study, he says he did it to see, why has baldness not been bred out of the human population? Well, because women's ability to choose our sexual partners has been severely, severely restricted under patriarchy.
So I've read, and I don't know if he makes this argument in this article, but I've read that increased testosterone actually causes baldness, in which case it could be that those guys they
were just more horny in their 20s and 30s, yeah.
More aggressive or psychopathic, yeah, or like psychopathic, meaning they just have like endless amounts of testosterone, and so they're more, and that makes sense why a lot of villains are portrayed as bald, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah,
like all of the superheroes always have like a full head of hair, but like the super villains will be bald.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering if that says something about like our perception of baldness of being a trait of men who have excess testosterone and maybe like slightly sociopathic or psychopathic.
Yeah, you look at like, I don't know, guys like Jeff Bezos or whatever, he looks like a supervillain, right? Like he looks like Lex Luthor. So yeah, maybe it is that like, yeah, the increased testosterone causes them to be more, I guess, like aggressive or, sociopathic. That's why they're able to. And the other thing is like men who get male pattern baldness tend not to go bald until their 40s and 50s after they've already reproduced, right? So if they've already reproduced in their 20s and 30s when they have a full head of hair, it's not something that gets selected against.
Yeah, there's like a whole you guys should just Google bald villains or bald MCU characters, and there's just like a whole plethora of pictures here of like how many supervillains are bald.
Yeah.
And that can't be a coincidence.
Exactly, yeah.
That's got to be some kind of subconscious thing with humanity.
The bad news, baldness decreases perceived physical attractiveness just a touch, but no matter. And it's like, and he says, the increase in the other domains cancels that out. No, it doesn't. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't.
We like men who are attractive. Okay. And again, I have this problem with this idea that women are not visual creatures or whatever, right? I don't like this narrative that men keep trying to push, that like women are down for whatever or should be down for whatever and shouldn't be allowed to have standards, or that we're abnormal for having standards, or that we're being unreasonable and making a big deal out of some, a minor, quote unquote, minor thing that like hair. It creates a power dynamic where, women are not in a position to be choosers, where we're always the ones who are being chosen, It takes away our power.
Well, so I googled why are so many villains bald? And it says, in fiction, baldness often equates to the lack of moral fortitude. Many villains are recognized as such by their audience by their shiny, shaven noggins. And then it goes on to say, as a matter of fact, in ancient Rome, baldness was considered a gross deformity. Like, so.
Oh, wow.
I mean, those Italian guys, they, tend to have a full head of hair, so I can see why that would be seen as...
Italian men have great hair. Yeah, they have great hair.
My man is Italian, by the way, just flexing. But anyways, and he's got hair. Anyways, so yeah, besides, look at Jason Statham. He's on the short side of the height spectrum, and he's bald, but he's one of the sexiest dudes in Hollywood. Just look how badass he is. First of all, he's 5'10", so it's not short. I mean, that's
he's
okay,
not short,
right?
Yeah, that's about above average height for a man.
Yeah. So, I'd date a guy who's 5'10". I don't see that as a flaw. But again, keep in mind, this is another example of the ego stroking that men's magazines do for men of like, oh yeah, height doesn't matter, baldness doesn't matter. Look at this sort of short guy or, bald guy. Look how sexy he is and look how badass he is. You can be like that guy kind of thing, right? All these guys reading this article are thinking they look like Jason Statham. And it's like, no, you fucking don't. Okay. And he's dating Rosie Huntington-Whiteley. What a guy. It could be speculated that although the characteristic of baldness decreases a man's perceived physical attractiveness, it increases his perceived social dominance.
What?
Yeah, that I guess because the testosterone is associated with dominance and stuff, right? So, but again, to me, dominance isn't automatically a good trait in men. In fact, if a guy is too domineering, it actually is a turnoff for me.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of primate species are like that, where there's some primate species that are sociopathic, where the dominance thing, I wouldn't say the females like it, but they don't have as much of a choice. Like chimpanzees are murderous little bastards.
Yeah.
And they use a lot of intimidation and violence to basically get the female population in check. And then there's other primates like apes where
or bonobos,
the pro-social behaviors, are way, way, way more rewarded. So they're not nearly as violent or into the dominance hierarchy. It exists, but it's not as rigid as some other species. So we're adaptable.
Yeah, exactly. Again, men idealize dominance. They look at dominant men. They'll even celebrate straight up incel mass murderers and shit, right? Men idealize dominance because it benefits them, first of all, for them to be dominant, right? They want to again, power is self-perpetuating. They want to perpetuate the power that they have, that dominance gives them. And I think we as women need to stop rewarding that shit, okay? I mean, if a guy's being really domineering with me, it's get away from me, you little fucking screw. Anyways, yeah. Stop rewarding sociopathic behavior in men, ladies. Anyways. Studies have shown baldness in men is seen as a non-threatening form of social dominance. According to who, right? Anyways, there's a large body of literature that shows that although women like physically attractive men, they are also very attractive to signs of high social dominance. I don't see how being bald makes you socially dominant. And also, why is he saying a non-threatening form of social dominance? We literally just talked about how bald guys and villainy is associated with each other, right? Why is he saying, where is he getting that idea of a non-threatening? That just seems like that's his own narrative that he's pushing in there.
There's no link to some study, so we're guessing here.
Yeah. He's not linking any studies. It's just again, this is just shit that men say. Right? We don't have to believe them, right? Understand that all communication is persuasion. All communication is an attempt to persuade, right? And I'm looking at this and thinking, okay, he has an agenda, right? And so you don't have to believe the things that they say. Consequently, it could now be explained how the characteristic was passed on. My speculation is that as humans evolved and the group became increasingly important for survival, males played a more integral role in the family group, and it may have been adaptive to evolve a morphological sign of this dominance-related role, and one that made the adult males appear less threatening and more approachable to facilitate interactions with them. No? What the fuck?
It's really weird.
That's the stupidest conclusion. Where is he getting that? That's completely insane. What I said earlier is much more plausible, which is that, women like hair on men, and they reproduce, they don't lose their hair until they're past the age of reproduction, and so once they've already have kids, they've passed on those genes, it's too late. It's just not, and because of that, it's just not something that's been selected against. That's a much, much more plausible explanation than this thing of humans evolved to be bald so that it could show women that they're dominant, but more approachable.
Yeah, Evo Psych is just one big psyop to like get us to accept patriarchy as some kind of scientific fact.
Yeah.
Right. Or like various
patriarchal narratives. Yeah.
Various aspects of men. Yeah. Or men's sexual preferences as fact, but women's as malleable.
Yeah. I have this problem that like, men's sexual preferences are inherently biological and women's are not. Right. Like, or that women's are like irrational or something. Final paragraph. Well, damn, that's what I like to hear. Of fucking course. That's the whole reason why you wrote this article, is because it's what you want to hear. Anyways, that said, if you're struggling with the psychological trauma of hair loss, just remind yourself, would you rather be a pretty boy with a head of hair, or would you rather be a or would you rather be a highly intelligent, sexy, dominant goddamn boss who everyone respects? I think the answer is clear.
So this is body positivity for men. I want to like actually share this article on Twitter and be like, we're tired of this body positivity propaganda for men. Like, 'cause this is what this is.
Like this Maxim magazine, I mean, I haven't seen, but I'm sure they probably have articles about like, why it's biological that men like thin women or something like that, right? Like, again, why... men are so fucking hostile to women's body positivity, right? Like they see women like just existing and not hating their own bodies, and they see that as like a personal attack. But they see an overweight woman, posted in a bikini on the beach or something on Instagram, and they see that as like a political statement, like, oh, you're trying to normalize obesity, or oh, you're trying to do this or that. And it's like, no, you fucking asshole. Like, women just want to exist in our own bodies without judgment. Meanwhile, these guys are very much into, their own sort of body positivity thing. And I think we need to match that energy and give them the taste of their own medicine.
I'm all about matching energy here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, this whole last paragraph just shows that this whole article is cope, right? He even literally says, like, that's what I like to hear. Right? Men's media is just men telling themselves what they want to hear and then pretending like that's fact.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. When you're listening to all these like manosphere people that get up on there with their stupid ass scientific facts about how women depreciate and value, etc. Remember, it's just their opinion, and they're just like trying to use it to manipulate you to make them have more sexual advantage. It's by no means fact, and they ignore shit. They completely ignore shit like this, by the way, like this massive amount of cope about like the entire baldness thing and like how that's going to make you look really aged. Like your desired age group is going to look at your balding scalp and be like, no. Yeah. Like 9 times out of 10. And that's just the way that is. They're going to prefer. Teen girls are mostly fantasizing over like boy bands and shit.
Yeah. In this last article, it's like, would you rather be a pretty boy with a head of hair, or would you rather be a highly intelligent, sexy, dominant, goddamn boss who everyone respects? If you look at what young women like, most of them like pretty boys with hair.
It's also that false dichotomy that men do. Like, you can't have a guy you're attracted to who meets your physical standards and is nice to you.
Yeah.
It's either he has all that, but he's an asshole, or he doesn't have that, but he's a saint. It's complete nonsense. You can have it all, ladies. You can have a guy you are genuinely attracted to who meets your physical standards and who treats you well. It's not an either or thing.
Yeah, and let's be clear. Like, Rob, I think 9 times out of 10 people are going to pick like prime Johnny Depp, Rob Lowe, Brad Pitt over Jason Statham. It's not to shit on Jason Statham because he's attractive in his own right, but when you think about Hollywood sex symbols, those are always the guys that came up, right?
Yeah.
And they're like very handsome, full head of hair, boyish good looks.
Yeah, exactly. Like youth and fertility is an attractive trait in men as well as being attractive in women, right? Like, and I find it so funny how, men, incels especially accuse FDS or feminism of being cope, quote unquote cope. When I find that this whole, it's such a projection, right? Like men have all these narratives as cope, right? And with us, it's not cope, it's just facts. Right.
I mean, you can even grow into your looks more. What was it, like Robert Pattinson, and then the other guy from the guy from like the High School Musical? Yeah, Zac Efron, right? Like, so all those guys like started as young actors, and like they were really cute and all, like they had a really big girl following, and the reason they're still around is because like women find them attractive, right?
Yeah.
And
they're still attractive.
Jason Statham's like an action hero, but like that's kind of his niche.
He's been typecasted. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not necessarily like, Hollywood sex symbol in the same way these other guys are.
Yeah. Yeah. And as Savannah said, like, this is a false dichotomy. You know, we talk in female political strategy how men use these sort of false binaries like the Madonna whore complex and so on to sort of pigeonhole women and to force them to make trade-offs. And the reality of the situation is women want a guy who is attractive, socially competent, intelligent, and sexy and respectable. Like, we want all of the above. This isn't, you know, an either or situation. This is women look at attraction more holistically than men. So
this entire article is cope. We're mad at it.
This entire article is cope. It's wrong. Women like hot guys. Women like hair.
Die mad baldies.
Die mad.
I'm tired of seeing your scalp shining in the sun. Rub some coconut oil.
We're just here pointing out all the lies.
Rub some coconut oil on the edges and get Rogaine.
Yeah, get some fucking Rogaine, get some hair transplant surgery, okay? Like, you know, women, you know, men complain, oh, but hair transplant surgery is so expensive. That's like $10,000 to $20,000. And it's like, first of all, you can go to Turkey and get it for like $2,000, first of all. Secondly, and you can have a nice vacation in Turkey. Second of all, women over the course of our lifetimes probably spend at least $10,000 on our hair, like minimum. If you add up all the costs, you know, of like cutting your hair, shampoo, products, styling tools, and so on, that definitely adds up to probably over $10,000, right? And so, Scroat, get on our level, okay? Like, you know,
yeah, get on our
instead of lowering the bar for women, we should raise the bar for men.
There we go. Meanest female only podcast on the internet.
Die mad, yeah.
Die mad. Bye.